Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of In Perspective. Today we will hear from Deputy Chief Fire and Rescue Officer Paul Harper on all things service improvement. Paul, thanks for joining us. Can you tell me a bit about your role in an FRS?
Hi Maria, yes, thanks. I'm Paul Harper. I'm the Deputy Chief Fire and Rescue Officer and Director for Corporate Governance and Service Improvement. That's quite a mouthful, but effectively I'm responsible for planning, performance and governance for the organisation and also for service improvement.
You mentioned service improvement. What does that actually mean?
Yes, so service improvement is about how we take steps to ensure that we are the most effective and efficient fire and rescue service that we can be with the public money that we are allocated. Most importantly though, our service improvement is about being based on risk. That's community risk and risk to firefighters. And that is the basis from which we will be starting any service improvement programme.
There's a lot of discussion around the Community Risk Management Plan. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so our Community Risk Management Plan, or many of you may be familiar with the CRMP term, is really a roadmap of how we're going to take steps to improve. It lays out how we will coordinate our work for our service delivery, but also how we will coordinate our professional services to make sure that we are as efficient and as effective as we possibly can be.
Why do we need a CRMP?
And in England and Scotland and Wales, the fire and rescue services are legislatively required to develop a CRMP through their fire framework. Unfortunately here in Northern Ireland, we don't have a fire framework as yet, but we want to follow national best practice as much as we can. And indeed, last year on the visit of the Inspectorate, one of the recommendations was that we should be following best practice to help us develop and clearly understand where improvements to our service can be made.
The CRMP is underpinned by risk. How do we define that risk?
Yes, you're right, Maria. The Community Risk Management Plan has to be underpinned by risk. And that is understanding where the risk is and who is at risk from that. That includes both members of the public and our firefighters. We do this through analysis of information and data that we hold from within the service, but also information that we can obtain from other statutory agencies. That helps us identify who is at risk and where. That information and data has allowed us to create a strategic assessment of risk. And that document will be our foundation for how we move forward.
Okay, and once we've assessed the risk, what's next?
Well, the next step is to understand how quickly we want to respond to those most at risk from fire in their homes and in their workplace. This is called our emergency response standards. That's the time it takes us from the first 999 call to having an appliance at the incident. Our current emergency response standards have been in place since 2006 and no longer reflect the risk profile across Northern Ireland. And over the last 18 months, we've been now looking about how we reassess those, and we're hoping to go out for public consultation in the next couple of months.
Naturally, our employees will want to know what it means for them. Will this change the structure of our organisation?
So we can see so far that there's a sequence of steps that we're taking. The first one was understanding our community and our risk. And the second then was determining what an appropriate emergency response standard would look like for our response. After that, and yes, effectively we will be looking at our directorates and our departments and our area command structure to make sure that it is the most appropriate it can be and fit for purpose to support our firefighters and our stations.
And what does this mean for our firefighters and the locations of our fire stations?
Well, it's understandable that our staff will want to know what the impact will be on them or their work location. But we're not quite there yet. It's worth remembering and noting that the CRMP is over a 5-year period. So first we have to implement and embed our new emergency response standards and also ensure that we have the correct and most appropriate support structure in place. And it's only then that we would open up a red fleet review that would assess accurately whether our stations and our crewing models are most reflective of the risk in our community.
How do you think CRMP will shape the future of any FRS?
Well, it's our intention to always have a CRMP. When we look across at other fire and rescue services in the UK, Some of them are on their third edition. The reason for that this is not a task and finish process. We will always be looking for these evolving risks and changing risks within our community, and always looking for ways that we can continuously improve. So how does this shape the Fire and Rescue Service? I think by always having an up-to-date CRMP in place is how we will improve NIFRS going forward.
And finally, can you tell us how our employees can have their say?
Well, many of our staff will have already been involved in the development of our CRMP and indeed in the engagement sessions for emergency response standards. It's so important that our staff play a full role in shaping our Fire and Rescue Service for the future. I will keep staff fully involved and updated as we progress, and I would encourage all our staff to be involved in the internal engagement sessions and indeed in public consultations.
Paul, that's a great overview of CRMP, and thanks for joining us on this edition of In Perspective.
Thank you, Maria. It's been a really good opportunity to update everyone on the CRMP and our service improvement. And I look forward to engaging more in the coming weeks and months. Thank you.